Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Start. Hi there. I see we have some viewers in our live stream, but feel free to ask for a subject of your interest that we can discuss live, or if you have a question that could start a conversation. You know, any question is helpful. Like if you think it's maybe a silly question, I guarantee that there are many other people with the same question. So please feel free to share, and we're going to be happy to expand the subject. Hello there, Vito Buzzi. Hi, I'm buying a land in Natal, Rio Grande do Norte, and I would like to know how the tax system works in Brazil. My idea is to buy lands, build commercial places to rent out, and refinance it to buy again and continue the cycle. So, Vito, I'm going to give you an overview of the taxation on real estate property, and we can take from there. So we have, the main tax when you are buying real estate property, and it doesn't matter if it is land or if it is, like a building, something that's already developed, you're gonna pay the transfer tax, okay? And the transfer tax is gonna be usually between 2 and 3% of the selling price. And some people, they're going to ask, listen, but what about if the price is half of what should be? Like, I'm going to still pay 2 or 3% of the selling price on the contract. So usually the municipalities, meaning the city where the property sits, is going to have the following approach. They are going to have something like a price list for every single property in the city. And they are going to compare the price for the property that they have in the price list to the selling price on the contract. And not surprisingly, they are going to pick the highest number out of these two numbers, right? So if you're paying for this property more than what they have on the price list, tax is going to be on the contract price and vice versa, okay? In terms of maintaining the property, of keeping the property, you have the annual tax, which is kind of similar to what you see in the United States and other countries. However, just for the sake of comparing, like in the United States, annual taxes, they are usually high because traditionally the property tax is used to fund public education, right? And that's not how it works in Brazil. So usually the annual tax is going to be lower in Brazil. And it's going to vary. Some cities, they are going to have something like a progressive rate, meaning that the more the property is valued, the higher is going to be the percentage points. And the lower the value for the property, the lower in terms of percentage points. Just as a reference, like it could be 0.5% a year. Okay, so these are two main taxation components, and that's something that is usually asked by foreign citizens when buy properties. Now, I understand that you also want to probably know about taxes that you're gonna have to pay when handling the real estate business itself, meaning that you're buying and selling. And there are, details that we cannot, of course, discuss in such short period of time. But as an overview, usually you're gonna pay what we call capital gains, okay? And the capital gains are gonna be like this. Let's say if you buy a property for 100,000 and you sell for 200,000, you're gonna pay 15%. This is one of the brackets, is the most common one, 15% over the 100,000 that you realized as a profit, right? So you're gonna pay 15,000 in capital gains. A question that people usually ask is like, all right, but what about I buy this property, in 2000 and then I'm selling in 2020. So, I paid 100,000, but today, of course, the property is worth much more. So that's being litigated a lot, but there is a consensus that it doesn't matter, right? Like that's for an advantage to the taxation system or to the public bodies, right? So they don't really take that into consideration. So if you paid like 100,000 20 years ago, that's exactly how much you're going to factor into your calculation to pay the capital gains. Another interesting information is that for Brazilians, like if you sell something, if you sell a property, you have 6 months to buy another property without paying the capital tax. So if I sell a 1 million reais property, and 5 months down the road, I buy another property for 1 million reais, I don't have to pay any income tax, right? Or capital gains, better saying, that's the technical name, right? However, foreign citizens that are not residents, like legal residents in Brazil, they are going to need to pay the capital gains on the closing, okay? Because the concern from the Brazilian government is that, like if you are a foreign citizen, you don't really have roots in the country, and therefore you could basically, just leave the country and they don't have anyone to go after. Actually, there is an additional provision saying that if the foreign citizen who has sold the property does not pay the capital gains, the buyer of the property is going to have to pay on behalf of the foreign citizen. So whenever you have, like experienced realtors, they know if the foreign citizen is selling, they need to make sure that the capital gains are paid on closing, okay? Another question from Victor, for example, I need info about taxes to pay or the possibility of not paying any taxes if I will live by rent. In terms of, I'm not sure, maybe here you're talking about personal taxation, and Brazil has, different rules addressing foreign citizens. But in a nutshell, it's going to work like this. If you are a permanent resident in Brazil, you're going to be if you are a legal resident in Brazil, you are also a tax resident, meaning that you have to file your taxes every year, right? And not only that, if you are a tax resident, you need to declare your global income, okay? So that's a bit concerning. I understand, like you're paying taxes elsewhere, and now you're going to need to pay taxes in Brazil. But there is a credit approach that is going to credit to you for whatever you're paying abroad. So let's say if you have, again, it's in a nutshell, right? I mean, the more accurate information you would be provided by a Brazilian tax attorney or a Brazilian CPA. But again, in a nutshell, in a very simplified manner, if you are paying a 20% tax bracket in the US, and if in Brazil you would pay a 15% tax bracket, Brazil would not charge you anything because what you're paying abroad exceeds of what you would pay in Brazil. Okay, so that's pretty much for the legal residents, okay? Now, if you are not a legal resident, right, if you're just visiting the country like three months every year, as long as you don't exceed 184 days in the country, you're not going to be a tax resident, right? Now, in your example here, you're saying if I live by rent, I assume you're renting out the properties that you built. And in this case, if you're not a tax resident, you still need to file taxes, but you're going to file taxes just for the income that you're getting in rental, okay? I hope it makes sense. We have another participant here. His name is Forrest. His nickname is Forrest. And he's asking, as a native of a visa-exempt country, am I able to stay in Brazil for between 90 and 180 days in a 12-month period without visiting the Polícia Federal, assuming each trip to Brazil is under 90 days. Okay, so we actually have a couple of videos recorded on that front, And there is this misconception that each entry to Brazil is like it resets the clock or is going to be analyzed in a separate manner, and that's not how it works. The rule is like this: like you have only 90 days to stay in Brazil for a 12-month period. Okay, and this 12-month period, it doesn't start in January, it doesn't start in July, it doesn't start in December. It's a movable, right? Like it's a movable timeline, meaning that it is going to be triggered. Let's say the first time you enter Brazil. So if you are entering Brazil on December the 6th, that's when your calendar year is going to start. And you're going to have 90 days, right? So if you come into Brazil December the 6th and you stay for 90 days and then you leave the country, right? And then you come back a month later, your 90 days, it's already expired, right? You don't get an additional 90 days. So the correct approach would be for you to ask for an extension, because then you need more than 90 days in this type of 12-month period, right? So in your question here, you would need to visit the Polícia Federal, because that's exactly how you ask for an extension. There is a website. If you just type Google Translate, ask for a stay extension in Brazil, you're gonna find this page from the Polícia Federal, this website, and you can basically just enter the request over there. Everything is in Portuguese. I know it's annoying, everything immigration related. In the Brazilian government pages, everything is in Portuguese, and they do not offer a translation into English. So a workaround is for you to right-click on the website if you're using Chrome, and you can basically translate. Of course, it's going to be like a machine translation, but you can at least have a good grasp of the content. And most people are going to be able to get through the application extension by doing exactly that. And then you're going to receive like a payment coupon, which means you got to go to Banco do Brasil, all right? Unless you have a bank account with Banco do Brasil, and you pay this boleto, like we say in Portuguese, and then you can attend the interview. An interesting thing, it's something new that's going on. Traditionally, the 90-day extension would be almost like a rubber stamping thing, right? Meaning you just go over there and say, listen, I want to stay additional 90 days, right? We even joke in our videos about this, that we say, you don't need to tell any sad stories. They're going to basically rubber stamp your 90-day extension. However, in the last month or so, we had two separate occasions in which the applicant for the extension said that the immigration gave them a hard time, right? Like asking, all right, but why are you asking for an extension? What happened for you to ask an extension? So it looks like there was a presumption that you should have some type of reason to get the 90-day extension. And so it's not exactly rubber stamping anymore. So on the other side, traditionally, there is a substantial discrepancy in terms of procedures when it comes to immigration in Brazil. I'm going to give you another take on your question, right? Like it's very possible that you stay for 90 days, you travel for a month outside of the country, and when you come back, nobody tells you anything. That happens all the time, right? All the time. People at the customs, they are going to turn a blind eye, particularly if they are short in personnel. There may be, like we never got confirmation from the immigration system, but it looks like they could again, turn a blind eye when they are short in resources and basically let everyone in. Unless, of course, there is something serious, like, I don't know, there is an international order from Interpol, to arrest someone. In this case, of course, they would not let this person just, go through without any consequence. But again, if you're just like overstaying maybe for a month or a couple of months, it's also possible that the personnel at the customs is going to turn a blind eye. Our recommendation is, of course, always play by the books, right? We're not telling you to take the chances. That's not what we do over here. But I'm just providing information that we got from the field to help you understand the dynamics of the 90-day rule. All right, there's a follow-up question from Vito Buzzi. So if I decided to open a business in Brazil as a non-resident with a resident as a business partner, can I build a strategy like that that I could do in the USA to buy lands and build commercial places too? I understand your question. You are asking like if you can have a business as a developer. You would be a non-resident, but you would partner up with a Brazilian resident to handle, to help you with the business. And yes, that's actually feasible, and we happen to have clients who do exactly that. They are, they are professionals, and they've been working, on international development for decades. Something that I don't think most foreign citizens understand is the level of complexity and red tape that we have in Brazil. So I'm going to give an example, right? Like we handle, as you may notice by the questions we have, we handle a lot of immigration procedures in Brazil. And there is an immigration track for foreign citizens to secure residency in Brazil by investing into a company. And we are not providing the service. We actually never provided, and we don't have plans to provide such service because we think that this is a bad choice for most foreign citizens, particularly foreign citizens coming from developed countries, right? Such as the US, the UK, European countries, Japan, and so on. And the reason is they come from countries where there is a healthy environment for business people to make money. And unfortunately, Brazil is not for everyone, right? If you want to understand more about what I'm talking about, you can run a search on Google, why Walmart, right? Like the giant supermarket chain, why Walmart has left Brazil. And you're going to read there are articles in Portuguese, there are articles in English. It is a huge case study, right? Because they came into Brazil, they spent literally billions of dollars. They also lost billions of dollars. And mostly because of the fake labor lawsuits, they decided to leave the country. They said, listen, if I need to go through this kind of thing, like I would rather not make any money in Brazil. And they left Brazil entirely, right? Now, on the other side, just to show, of course, both sides of this coin, there are a bunch of U.S. business from Europe, particularly from France. I think because of culture, right? Like France is able to make a lot of money in Brazil, and there are companies from the U.S. making money in Brazil. So I'm not saying that whoever is coming from abroad, from a developed country, is doomed to lose their shirts in Brazil. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that for the vast majority of individuals who are used to a healthier business environment, when they come to Brazil, it's a shock. And there is so many unpleasant surprises that we would rather not be entangled with the client in this odyssey. Okay, so that's just a heads up. It's not like to make you decide, to go elsewhere. It's just a heads up that things are not, or I would say, almost never easy in Brazil. Okay, there are always challenges. Things take much longer. Another example is like, in the US, if you want to open an LLC, a limited liability company, you can do on the same day, right? There are services where you're going to pay like an expedite fee, and they are going to open like in 2 hours, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so in Brazil, when you have a foreign citizen participating in the entity, this could easily take up to 6 months, right? So it's like the distance is so big that we really get concerned when we see like foreign citizens, particularly if they don't have a lot of experience with Brazil, to just think about coming to Brazil to set up a business. Okay, and that's why we also set up business entities in Brazil, but we probably decline 90% of whoever is knocking on our door, because like if we notice it is someone like a newcomer, and they're just going to take their chances, we would rather not engage with this group, because again, chances are the business is not going to fly, and we are not here just to make a quick buck on our clients. We are here trying to develop longer term relationships. So believe it or not, like we actually do not provide services when we don't think the services are going to be advancing our prospective clients' interests. All right, we have a follow-up question from Forrest. Does the Polícia Federal grant another 90 days until a specific date, or is it another 90 days that can be used over several trips beyond any specific date? Forrest, usually they are going to give you a 90 days, straight 90 days that can be used from a specific date. Okay, but in our experience, like although it says, let's say if you are applying, in our example, you came on December the 6th, and then you stay in Brazil until January, February, and March, right? And on March the 1st, you went to Polícia Federal and you applied for 90 days. So they're going to give you 90 days from March the 1st. So you would have until April, May, and June, right, to stay in the country. And if you're leaving before that, the most conservative interpretation is that you would have wasted your remaining days. But in practical terms, what we see is that if people are coming back, it looks like the immigration is just considering that you have like unused days because you left earlier than the allowed date. All right. We never had a chance to review the immigration system if they do some calculation for the agents. But the impression that we have is that this system is probably not super advanced. And it looks like whenever a person at the customs, like if they are unable to tell right off the bat that you are overstaying, they are going to choose to err, to your advantage, meaning, like if there is a gray zone, which could be exactly this example you gave, I would assume they would rather say, well, he had like 15 days or a month as a balance from his last extension request, so I'm going to let him in, and this is going to count as allowance for his new stay. Okay, but there is no information out there. Most of this information we share in our content, in our videos, and over here is based on field experience. All right, Vito Buzzi, thanks for your answer, sir. I will try with something that I can lose just to understand the system. You'll be an experience anyway. Yes, Vito, that's a great take on it. To be positive, and try with something that if you lose, is not going to hurt you. It sounds like a very smart approach. And after you have learned the ropes, then you can probably increase your investments once you see that you can handle all the red tape and bureaucracy in Brazil. Great take on that, Vito. All right, heads up. We're going to be ending our live in 5 minutes. So if you have any final questions, feel free to share. If you are unable to ask your question today, we're going to have another live on Sunday. Okay, we're going to be here on Sunday, December the 10th. We're going to be here at 3:30 p.m. Rio de Janeiro time. Okay, if you go by military time, we're talking about 15:30 on December the 10th. We're not going to be live on Wednesday next week, Wednesday, December the 13th, but we're going to be back on Wednesday, December the 20th, right? So the remaining dates we're going to have for this year are December the 10th, Sunday, December the 17th, a Sunday as well. And then December the 20th, which is going to be our last Wednesday of this year. And then we're going to come back in January. Okay? All right, just a few minutes to finish up our live stream. Any final questions? We have a good number of participants, I can see. Don't be shy. Let me know your topic of interest so we can use these final minutes in our live. All right, everyone. Thank you for your participation. It was a pleasure to discuss these topics with you today. And if you have any questions later on that you couldn't address today, I suggest you join us on Sunday. We're going to be live on Sunday, December the 10th at 3:30 Rio de Janeiro time, military time, meaning 15:30 on December the 10th on Sunday. I wish you guys a great day, a great afternoon, a great evening, depending where you are, and see you in our next live. Goodbye.